journey to live a life without plastic. Sounds crazy, right? You see, I'm a father of 2, soon to be 4 in March. Much like Scott Moody, Toastmaster Scott Moody, I want them to enjoy the beauty of this world as I see it. And the ocean, the way I've had to enjoy the ocean. Quick survey, how many of you would like to eat plastic? You do? Were you aware that we consume nearly 39,000 to 59,000 particles of plastic every year through consumption or inhalation? In a moment, we're going to explore how that's possible. Little history lesson. 150 years ago, the first plastics were created as a reward to anyone who could make a substitute billiards ball instead of ivory, which was the leading production method of the day. Because they thought that they were going to create the extinction of elephants because it would require one elephant to produce only 10 billiard balls, so one set. And since the annual production was about, let's say, would require 1,200 elephants, they did the math and they said, this is not going to work out for us. How ironic. A $10,000 reward was offered to any person who could make this non-ivory billiard ball, and a guy named John Wellesley Hyatt came up with the material camphor, which is what modernized plastics of the day, and moved us into what we call the age of plastics. What is the problem with ocean plastics today? About 5 years ago, the Public Library of Science, PLAUS, in San Diego, did a report that said that there's 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic in the ocean, which equals 260,000 tons, metric tons of plastic. Now, if you know what a super tanker looks like in the ocean, that is 260,000 metric tons. The report also adds that with every square mile of the ocean, there's 50,000 pieces of plastic. And most of those are so small that they're consumed by fish because they look like food. And they also get caught in these discarded nets from fishing. On average, 8 million tons of plastic enter the ocean from land every year. And that amount could vary between 5 and 12 million tons. They really don't know for sure. But that's enough plastic to fill every square mile of coastline in the world with one full grocery plastic bag full of plastic. Scares you, right? And just as an example, for a 10-year period of time, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration went out with boats and cleared 1.3 million tons of netting, fish netting from Hawaii near the coral reefs over a 10-year period of time. Where does this plastic come from? Okay, there's another little visual aid right here. Much of this plastic enters via rivers, which emit 1.15 to 2.4 tons of plastic into the ocean every year. And disturbing fact that of the 40,000 rivers in the world that feed into the ocean, only 20 of those rivers produced 2/3 of all the global plastic that's in the ocean. 20 rivers. And most of them are in Asia and 2 in Africa. This one happens to be in Russia. No disrespect to Russia, but that is not a river, that's a river plastic. The other one is a photo of a garbage can here in Laguna Beach. Right? So people are so disrespectful that they just throw the plastic on the top of the trash can thinking that it's in the trash can, and that trash can could blow into the ocean, that plastic could blow in the ocean. Now, where does all this plastic go? Well, driven by winds, they get caught up in these gyres, these ocean currents, and they get churned up, and one 20-pound plastic fishing buoy can be chewed up into little micro pieces of plastic by the currents. And 90% of the plastic found in these gyres, in these ocean currents, is smaller than a grain of rice, which is perfect for little fish to eat up. But then there's this thing called the Great Oceanic Conveyor Belt, which takes the cold water to the warm water and the warm water to the cold water, and that takes also the ocean plastics deeper. So the Monterey Bay Aquarium research team went down in the different depths, and they measured 2 particles per cubic meter at the surface of the earth, or surface of the water, 12 particles per meter at 300 meters deep, and again 2 pieces per cubic meter at a depth of 1 kilometer. And the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, has higher levels of overall waste and pollution than in some of the rivers that I just mentioned in China. So it goes all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. Now what can we do? With more plastic being produced in the first decade of this century than in the previous century, 100 years, and production set to quadruple by 2050, we need to find a solution to downsize or repurpose plastic sooner than later. Like other carbon-based products, we must reduce our dependence. 89% of plastic in pollution studies is single-use plastic. It means a trash bag, utensils, a plastic cup, a plastic water bottle. And you think, oh, well, it gets recycled, right? Well, 9% gets recycled, 12% is incinerated, and 79% goes in landfills and goes in the ocean. So use refillable water bottles, reusable bags, buy food not in plastic containers. And if you're really daring, try to find a nonprofit that helps create alternatives to plastic, or maybe even start up your own company. Great alternatives are always glass, metal, and wood. And as you must buy plastic, please make sure it goes into a recyclable container or gets reused. And lastly, please support legislation that eliminates single-use plastics. We are doing a much better job in California than we are elsewhere in the world, but there's still change to confront. Over 1 billion people on Earth depend upon ocean wildlife to eat every day. I want my children, Brady, Harper, and 2 little ones, I don't know their names yet, to not have a side of plastic at their meal when they're my age. Thank you so much.